the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We're continuing our Mario May, living the dream of everything Super Mario in our Super Mario Brothers series, and finding more kind of like those odd like Mario things you don't just find it every day. You can't just go and walk into any game store and find what we're going to talk about. Because we're going to talk about something even more bizarre. We're going to talk about a sequel to the Super Mario Brothers movie in a comic form.
Yeah, this is a fan comic that was actually written by Stephen Applebaum and Ryan Haas. Both have been on the show before when we were doing they were just telling us how they came across the Mario movie, how they started the Super Mario Brothers movie archive. And I knew this is something they were working on, but I'll be honest, I didn't know it was already all laid out online. So once I realized, this is kind of a continuing thing. And unfortunately, the only real problem I have with, not a problem with the book, but the only thing unfortunate is it ends on a cliffhanger, because I think they're still in the works on it. It's not been released. The end is yet to be released. But it's just a shame because the book's fantastic.
Yeah, and it is kind of like just a good starting to being like, hey, here's a full-on sequel. And what makes it it's almost like a little bit beyond just, I guess you would say, like a fan fiction, because it even has one of the original Mario Brothers movie writers, Parker Burnett, also on it too. So it kind of has that where it's not just it's not just anybody just writing it. Well, he also contributed to the story and everything too.
Yeah, there's a little foreword at the beginning where they say basically they asked him what were some of the ideas you guys were playing around with? What were some of the things you were considering? And he says, I told them what they should do, but they had but at the same time, feel free to give it your own stamp, because they were pretty, going off the ending of that movie, they were pretty confident that they're going to get a sequel. And Parker Bennett even says in his foreword, by the time the movie was over, I knew it was probably going to get pummeled by critics, but regardless, I was optimistic, and I figured worse movies have made sequels, and unfortunately, that was not the case with this one.
Yeah, it probably was one of those weird ones, too, where, you could kind of see a lot of those guys going, you know what? All it's got to take is just if every single person who owns a copy of Mario Brothers shows up, we're going to be doing good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, oddly, we know if, over budget and all that kind of stuff didn't really help the cause.
I think that really, at the end of the day, if the thing wasn't over budget, probably would have be viewed as a success. Maybe people would not like it, but there's people like us and Mario Brothers Archive, which love the movie, but I still feel like maybe the movie would not be viewed as a fantastic movie to the general public. But if it wasn't for going over budget and all the crazy mayhem going behind the scenes, probably maybe would have made enough money to get a sequel, but you never know.
Yeah, it's always that kind of sad thing that almost if a movie just makes a bunch of money, it's almost like it's got more points in its sort of review. I don't know why that's always been the case, but it's for some reason if a movie just doesn't make the cut and just doesn't make that money, people just go it was a terrible movie. No, it's like the Waterworld effect. I always kind of feel there's some people a terrible movie. It's did you ever fucking see the movie? No, terrible movie. It's well, the movie technically made money. It's you just didn't look at all the facts and everything. You didn't even watch the movie. What, do you even Mad Max or Road Warrior or anything? It's stupid, fucking hate. Well, no wonder you didn't like fucking Waterworld.
Even before I even saw that movie, I remember seeing the trailer to it, but this is when I was younger, because this Mario Brothers movie was my first introduction to a lot of people. I saw Who Framed Roger Rabbit before Mario Brothers, but I did not recognize Bob Hoskins immediately. But Dennis Hopper and John Leguizamo, for me, they were ever cemented as whenever I saw Dennis Hopper in something King Koopa, or John Leguizamo, that's Luigi. And I remember seeing the trailer to Waterworld and seeing, eye patch Dennis Hopper. I'm King Koopa's back.
He survived.
Yeah.
That's what pretty much happens. He lost his hair and he got sent out to sea. That could have been you could just add in a couple extra shots and it could almost be what happened to King Koopa? Well, he drifted down this warp pipe. Went out to sea, made a new clan.
Well, there could even be, I'll say this, there's this whole thing going just to that aesthetic, that there's a sort of there's dystopian future, quasi-cyberpunk, quasi-Roadrunner type shit. And then there's kind of the 90s version of it.
Did you say Roadrunner? Roadrunner and Wile E.
Coyote? I meant Road Warrior. I thought I said Road Warrior.
That's what I was thinking. I was just because you're going all serious too. You're okay, so then let me break it down. There's cyberpunk, there's steampunk, there's Roadrunner. Like, well, what the fuck's this Roadrunner? Like, Wile E.
It's a life or death chase. It's how far will one coyote go just to survive another day and eat his meal? And who knows what's going to happen once he actually catches it? Is he gonna have enough energy to move on?
Exactly. It's one of those ones.
It's a deep question that a lot of people don't really stop and ask themselves. Like, is he really chasing something, or is he just like what does Roadrunner represent?
I think what Roadrunner really represents, though, is the fact that, like, when you have that goal in mind of how far you will go, where, like, literally at the end of the day, it's like, most people be like, you know what, fuck this Roadrunner. I'm going to go catch something else to eat tonight. But not Wile E. Coyote. Not fucking Wile E. Coyote. When he sets his mind to something, he won't stop. I really have to say this, though. Like, when I was a kid watching the Roadrunner type stuff, though, like, I used to be, like, always on the... I felt like Warner Bros. Wanted you to be on, like, on the Roadrunner side. I was like, fuck that. It's all about Wile E. Coyote. Fuck that Roadrunner.
Wile E. Coyote, what's it say about me? That was one of my favorite Looney Tunes characters for a long time.
Yeah, same here, too. And it was just like, it almost made me angry, kind of like, fucking Roadrunner always fucking winning. Just like the Super Friends. Like, why do they always have to win so easily? Can't there ever be, like, a struggle?
Yeah, I have trouble remembering episodes of Super Friends. How much DC lore I have in my head and how many different variations, I always have trouble remembering. I remember the early version where they had fucking Marvin, Windy, and Wonder Mud, or whatever the fuck that bullshit was.
Yeah.
I remember it was never even a villain most of the time. It was just some, like, scientist who was mad, like, I got fired, so now I'm setting off the polarity, which is going to change a bunch of shit. And then, like, the fucking Marvin and Wendy roll in, like, you shouldn't do that. Ah, fuck you. And that's when, like, somehow the word gets out to, like, Superman. He's like, all right, I'll stop it.
He's messing with the Jimmy Carter campaign. This is the worst part, too, is I've seen every fucking episode of Super Friends as a kid, because I remember that, because I remember when they started, like, oh, fuck, I've seen this episode before, but it's an hour till whatever the hell else is coming on next, so I guess I'll watch it. Because I was just that time period, like, well, what else are you going to do? It's on TV, like, I'm not going to go just do something else, it's just like, I guess I'll just have to watch through it.
We'll get back to the Mario thing and the point I was going to make in a second, but I just want to say this about Super Friends. I remember we originally, I went out and bought the first season on DVD because we were talking about, doing that whole kind of Dragon Ball Z abridged thing, but with Super Friends episodes. And then we were watching it and we were just like, we never got around to doing that. So I'm like, now I got this stupid fucking DVD to the show I hate.
And I think that was even before the Dragon Ball Z abridged, before those guys even did that too.
It would have been like around the same time or close to it, but we just liked the idea of just voicing over. Because like Dragon Ball Z Abridged did it really good, but there is other ones where it was just a little bit more sloppier, but you still got the idea across. Like, I think we could do something like that, and then we never got around to it, so now I just have this DVD of a season I just fucking hate, just taking up room on my DVD shelf. But so I'm like, god damn it, yeah. I still like, it was only $25, but I still kick myself for spending that much money on this thing I hate. But regardless, I was gonna make a point about the dystopian future shit before we went into Roadrunner and this and that. But there seemed to be kind of like that late 80s, early 90s version of the kind of dystopian quasi cyberpunk thing with a little bit, this is not cyberpunk, but a little bit of like, the road warrior road warrior vibe with like, Waterworld, and then even like, I think we made this point before, but Judge Dredd wasn't
Tank
too
Girl.
far out. Yeah, Tank Girl. They all a lot of things kind of have that style. So I think there's something about that really stands out about, like, and a lot of those movies are not looked back on fondly, but I find a lot of those movies interesting. A lot of those early 90s, late 80s dystopian films.
Well, the weird thing to me is, like, I grew up watching so many of those movies, so I look at, like, all these ones that people a lot of times think of just being kind of okay films, is I really enjoy them. Like, I like the Tank Girl movie a lot. I like the Judge Dredd one of Stallone quite a bit. Like, it's just because, like, when I grew up, it's like, that was the fucking Judge Dredd movie, and I think it's, like, one of those ones that's, like, an 8-year-old kid, like, that movie was so fucking badass. It's just, like, I think it's one of those ones, if you have, like, a 35-year-old Judge Dredd fan from, like, England, yeah, of course he's going to be complaining, but, like, to an 8-year-old kid, that movie was fucking sick.
I remember liking it as a kid, and then I watched it as, like, a kind of a jaded, like, 16, 17-year-old. Like, it's cheesy. Yeah. I might need to watch it again. I don't remember liking it the second time around, but maybe in hindsight I might warm up to it. I remember thinking like, man, this is a lot like the Mario Brothers movie at the time. And then Tank Girl, I kind of liked most of Tank Girl. I think there's some stuff that was a little over top. I thought like the musical number shit was kind of a little silly, but I remember liking Tank Girl mostly. And that movie is, I feel like if you have like the Mario Brothers movie, you have that recommended for you. That would also be Judge Dredd, Tank Girl, Waterworld.
Yeah, because like all those movies all sort of fit in there, and they're all movies once again that aren't like that. Some people think are like the greatest movies ever, and then there's just a group of people who are like, oh fuck those movies, they don't make enough money at the box office. Is that all you're going off of? Yeah, that's all I care about. That's how I judge a movies, by how much money it makes. My dad works at Wall Street. That's why.
There's the kid whose dad or uncle works at Nintendo, and then there's the kid whose dad works at Wall Street.
Yeah, it's like only good movies a good movie that makes money.
So before we jump into this to the Super Mario Brothers 2 comic, let's actually give credit where it's due. As I said earlier, the story, aside from like ideas from Parker Bennett, there's also Stephen Applebaum, Ryan Haas, who, like I said earlier, been on the show. Art and colors was Eric Donovan, and Eric is spelled with a Y. Brett Michael Cook also did colors, and then James Reed, and James spelled with a Y as well, did letters.
Yeah, what's with the Y? I mean, you see that once and you don't question it, but when I see it twice, then I start to wonder.
I wonder if there's like a group for it. Like, does your name have a Y in it somewhere that you wouldn't expect it to be? All right, here you go. You have a group for you.
It fits with like the people like myself, like Pizza Boys, where you spell like it with a Z, and then you start seeing other people that spell weird things with a Z, and you feel like you almost have this like weird bond that you have nothing really in common, but there's just that thing like, well, maybe.
You just see some of the boys in the hood, like, sure, you just raise your fist up in the air, like he gets it. Yeah. And you could find the comic at www.smbthecomic.com, and they have all the links to their Facebook, Twitter, DeviantArt, and Twitter right there.
Yeah, I'll put a link in for like the description too to make it super easy to go find it, so you can read it, check it out, and then support the cause wherever it kind of goes next. Because from this point on, I almost sounds like we haven't talked to these guys in a while about, I don't even know if we talked too much about the comic book before, but it sounds like it's one of those ones where it's like they kind of have an idea to kind of do like a full-on, a real comic, have it be licensed by Nintendo. Almost, it reminds me of it would be like a Dynamite comic, because Dynamite always seems to do like those like, hey, remember this movie? Here's a little page sequel to it, or not 6 page, issue sequel to it. They do that quite often, so it almost would remind me like it would fit perfect in like that kind of category, because that's mostly Dynamite mostly relies off of generally stuff that's made for like your grandparents and great grandparents, but things like this would also fit in there too. Dynamite's
usually old, like, I think if I had to guess, if you were to ask me what's Dynamite's biggest thing, and it's not even like an original thing, their biggest thing I would assume is Red Sonja, because I probably see her on more things in a comic book store that are on Dynamite. I mean, you still have Green Hornet, which is definitely your grandparent's superhero. Yeah, then you also have, I think they have a Man with No Name series, which I would like to check out. And then they've also, like, John Carter of Mars and Deja Thorez. So basically all that old pulp and sci-fi stuff. And Vampira, whatever her name is.
Vampira.
Is she Dynamite?
Yeah, she is, like, for now. I think, she's a really old character, so God knows what she started out on. But yeah, she's kind of like, her and Red Sonja seem to be like you see them the most often on the Dynamite covers. And I'll say this, every single time I've ever read all the Dynamite books I've ever gotten, like, they're always like, I think it's because it's something just so different, because you're just getting, most of the time just really old characters. Like, I remember they had some Zorro runs that were super good, and there was a Zorro meets Django that was totally badass.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, see, and it was like, and it was written by Quentin Tarantino as well too, with the guy who wrote Zorro. Well, not the original guy who wrote Zorro, but the guy who wrote Zorro for Dynamite recently, in the last 10 years. But still, there's some real fun stuff in there. But that's what I feel is like. I see Super Mario Brothers 2, like if it was gonna fit into there, that's where I'd kind of picture it more than anything else. I mean, granted, nowadays it would come out like on, if it was. Well, I don't even know if Nintendo would put it on its own label. That'd probably be the trickiest part, is if you're trying to get it licensed for Nintendo, be like, hey, can we just do this fun sequel thing? I almost could see Nintendo just shooting down, be like, you know what, we're not going to talk about that right now. We haven't made I know how hard it is to get a fucking Blu-ray out.
Well, here's the thing about Nintendo, and we'll actually go into the comic itself in just a second, but a problem I have with Nintendo, and I get it, they want to make sure that they're calling the shots and it's not just becoming this request form of whatever. But I think sometimes Nintendo has too much pride because they stamp down and they jump on people making parodies and making fan films and whatever. They jump on that very quickly. And if something becomes too big, even if you're not making a lot of money on it, Nintendo goes out of their way to make legal action on it. Like there's a Fox in Space, which is probably one of the best fan things I've ever seen, which is basically like kind of a late 80s noir style Star Fox series online. A dude animates it entirely by himself, and it's probably one of the best fan made things I've ever seen. And Nintendo was really coming down on that guy at some point. So I can see, as much as I would love Nintendo to sponsor this and help this thing get made, I think they got too much pride. They're too much on their high horse for that, really.
Yeah, it's that sad thing. I think I always call that kind of like, it's sort of like the old world way of like, oh, what the fuck are they doing with our property? You better stop that right now. You better not be making something we have. You know what I mean? Going off about it like that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's that kind of thing where it's like, nowadays it's like, you got to kind of realize it's like, that's just free advertising. If somebody's literally making like some animated movies, even if they're stupid and, just kind of like dumb Newgrounds humor or something like that, at the end of the day, somebody at the end will be like, shit, I feel like playing some fucking Mario.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where's my fucking Switch? I'll go download a game right now. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what, like, I feel like you should never crap out on free advertising.
Yeah, and I think Nintendo, they're sometimes they're very innovative in their game design and things they want to do, but they're sometimes really behind the times when it comes to how to approach something, from a financial angle or from like a marketing angle. I mean, they didn't know what internet was until the Wii came out, so.
Yeah, and Nintendo's always been, I like to say this, the Nintendo system's internets have never been really the greatest running one. Let's just say that. Even on the Switch, that still is the system that has more problems connecting to the internet than anything else. But
oh, I know. So going into the actual comic, I wonder if people who work on the comics see like, oh shit, they're talking about the comic. They listen to the podcast. Like, when you fucking assholes actually talk about the book?
Yeah, God, you fucking talk about Roadrunner for some stupid length.
20 minutes in. I think we should actually put a timestamp on that. If you actually want to hear the comic, just jump 20 minutes in. Anyway, so it opens up with Daisy and Toad. The first year, like, is that a different Toad or is that the Toad? Like, I really love the design because it actually looks like how you'd expect it to look in the how it would expect to look in the movie universe. Yet it does have a little bit more resemblance to the games and the characters itself.
Yeah, and just like the art style itself, it kind of has that little bit sketchy, little bit like kind of very like creative kind of look to it, and I just like that design. Like, it doesn't come across, because that's always kind of the fear. Sometimes you get these things going, and then you kind of get somebody who kind of has almost like too much generic comic book art. Not saying it's bad, but it's kind of like what I always say, like what sometimes like the second and third run like DC and Marvel books can kind of have. I'm glad it doesn't have like that kind of art. I'm glad it just goes, no, it's going to have its own kind of unique look to it as well too.
It very much does have its own signature, and it works in its favor, I think. Because the artwork this is definitely good enough to sell. If only these weren't copyrighted characters or the copyrighted movie, that you could definitely sell this, and I would definitely pay for it, because I think the artwork looks fantastic. And they're in this shrine, and her meteor necklace is starting to react, and they're trying to figure out what it is. And I was trying to figure out, there's this egg, it looks like an egg thing on a pedestal. As far as you can tell, does that look like anything from like what that could be from another Mario game, like something obscure or anything like that? And from a second, I was thinking like, is that like maybe an egg to like a villain or something like that, or
like what, like Birdo or something like that?
Birdo, maybe, yeah.
I don't know. It's because it is like on there, and it hasn't got back to it yet. I don't think in this.
It hasn't, no. So basically, the egg starts to glow, the meteorite starts reacting, and then from there, Shy Guys will look like kind of like desert warrior Shy Guys come out riding like angry, dangerous-looking Yoshis, and they have this cool battle scene.
Yeah, and they look really cool, just like in their suits, and they got guns and big old spears and everything like that.
Like, it's one of those things, they look kind of like
They look like dangerous Ewoks, or not Ewoks, but
Jawas.
Dangerous Jawas.
But knowing it's Mario Brothers, oh, that's supposed to be a Shy Guy right there. And that's like a deranged, messed up Yoshi it's riding.
Yeah, exactly. Just like one, not your friendly Yoshi. but it looks like it's still like if you kind of took the Yoshi in the movie and just like had it grow up for another like 5 more years, it's like, oh, that's what they're supposed to look like, full grown.
And then we jump forward, and that's where we get to the end of the movie, where Daisy comes busting in like, Mario, Luigi, I need your help. You're not going to believe this. Like, suit up, kid. And Mario's all gung-ho for it now. And I like some of the choices they made. Most of the outfits still basically look the same, but if this was an official sequel, they're doing some things you'd assume they'd probably do to slightly change up the outfit. Like Mario actually has an M on his belt now, and this is kind of like their go-to outfits now. It's not like the thing they just happen to be wearing; it's just the actual go-to outfit. Luigi going 90s as hell, has like the shirts missing, has the sleeves missing, but you see kind of like the tear kind of going up, sort of stands out.
Well, it's funny because like Luigi in this one, he now looks like if like Tommy Lee played Luigi.
Think about that. That's a good point.
Like it really doesn't look like, you know, John Leguizamo Luigi. It just looks like like Motley Crue Luigi. Like hey Mario, what's going on? And I just did a line of coke. We ready to go fucking do this or what?
Like,
Luigi, what are you doing coke for? He's like, well, I was playing fucking video games. It's more fun if you do it with coke.
John Leguizamo did not want to come back, so they hired like Tommy Lee.
Well, really, if you had Tommy Lee like in the 90s, he probably could have played Luigi.
He probably could have, yeah.
It would be the most ballsiest, weirdest choice, but he probably could have.
There's actually, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like a window or not window, a mirror, or I can't fucking talk right now.
You think it's gonna Super Mario 64 jump into that? Is that what you're getting at?
No. There, in the background, there's it's either a picture or it's a window. I can't really tell, but it has this very like Mario World-esque level kind of look to it, you know, like the hills kind of rolling in the background sort of, and it's on what page is this? It's on page 7 of chapter 1, very top panel behind Mario. So
yeah, no, I see what you mean. I think that is supposed to be just like a picture.
Yeah, I was just wondering, well, the way the frame kind of looks, it looks kind of, well, the way the frame looks, it looks kind of like a window, sort of. So I was just wondering if it is a picture. Like, that was the last time we went on vacation. Shit got fucking weird.
I've never seen such perfectly shaped mountains before. Literally, there was little creatures rolling off the tops of them. I smashed them all because I was fucking high as fuck.
I don't feel bad about it. They're not Christian or Catholic.
Or Jewish. Us Brooklynites gotta stay together.
So that's when we suddenly jump, because I'll say that the very beginning of this thing just fucking moves, and they jump back to the cave, and they bump into Toad, and Toad's sitting there. They don't know it's Toad yet. They just see, I mean, if you know your Mario stuff, you can say, okay, that's a different interpretation for Toad, but, you know, he seems to be kind of like quiet, he only speaks when something's serious, only says what needs to be said beyond that. And then he's just like, okay, well, you guys go in there and hold him off. And we get this really cool fight scene with Mario, Luigi, and Toad fighting off the Shy Guys while Daisy goes to close this portal.
Oh, yeah. And you got all those Shy Guys coming in and whatnot, and they're just blasting away and so on. And Luigi, like, just grabs this big old, like, rod, or I don't know what the heck he's got there. He just starts swinging around. It looks like he's just got, like, a keg of beer with a handle on it. It
looks like, I mean, I'm not saying this is what it is, but it looks like a plunger, but then they, like, filled it with, like, something, with like they coated it with metal or filled it with something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Something like that.
And now they're using the boots more, because before, there's only, like, a few scenes in the movie where they actually use the boots, but now they're using the boots, like, commonplace, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so they just kind of, like, it's just, like, part of their normal gear.
Yeah, and he's just coming in, like, stomping on Shy Guys, just whacking him in the side of the head. At some point, Daisy gets in the fight, and she pulls out, like a miniature pistol version of the, like, fire gun.
Uh-huh. And starts blasting away there. I even like how Luigi just fucking jumps on that one Shy Guy, like, with the boots, just fucking smash him. Be like, you take that, you fucking Shy Guy!
Piece of shit! And I like how even when Mario, they get across the whole thing, like, something that was going to happen in the earlier version of the script, and there's even apparently deleted scenes of it, is Luigi feeling kind of like, man, I never want to be a plumber. And Mario be like, don't you have any fucking family pride, you know? But the thing about it is,
well, it's gonna be like that scene, like in Out of the Furnace, like Christian Bale, like fucking hitting the house, be like, don't you ever fucking talk about the factory that way. That factory is our life. That factory is our home. In fact, the factory is your great-great-grandfather.
It birthed you right out of the furnace. Oh, that's why it's called that. Okay.
So don't you ever talk shit about your grandfather.
But no, it's kind of like, but he has that whole, there's an early version of The Draft, I guess, and even deleted scenes, which I've never seen, but where Mario chastises Luigi about, like, not having pride in their family work and this and that. And there's a few lines in the movie where he seems kind of like, oh, I'm just a plumber just because my brother is, but he doesn't seem like he has any regrets about it. Where this one, they start to kind of bring in that plot line. He feels like he was only a plumber only because his brother was a plumber, and he wants his own form of identity. And in the middle of this fight, Mario has an idea, essentially, to... I don't remember what it is exactly, but something about working on the plumbing, essentially, is kind of what's going to help him out. And he's all like, I need to be very precise. He's like, how can you take plumbing so seriously? Like, how could you not? This is a family legacy.
Exactly. Like, what? You want to go vacuum up mansions? Old haunted mansions? Is that what you fucking want to do, Luigi? Why don't you fucking tell me you just want to be a vacuum man?
Get out of here, vacuum man. Oh, you ain't afraid of no ghosts. Horse shit.
See, you jump at every single thing that appears. Anytime something white pops up, you jump. Yeah, they're called
I hate to see you at a real big fish concert. A lot of white people jumping around.
Exactly. It's really scary, too. I'm not gonna lie. I was fucking scared there, too. I mean, they're really non-threatening white people. They're, the kind that, you can flick one of them and then, like, it would just be like a row of dominoes. God, I just fucking...
Row dominoes?
Yeah, there we go. Shit, it was one of those late nights, like... Oh, okay, yeah. A fucking row of dominoes going down. This takes out the band that was fucking in. You know what I mean?
Though I never thought I'd be so on my toes when hearing a rendition of "Take on Me." Like, oh wow, crowd's getting more aggressive.
We should hire these guys for the next Super Mario Brothers movie. Just saying. I really think that's what the kids are going to be into.
Looking at this now, I'm noticing Mario's like fingerless gloves. I actually kind of like how they went out of their way. Even though they're fingerless gloves, they got out of their way to put the three little like cartoon... Because every cartoon character for the longest time just had the three random stripes on their gloves for some reason. You don't know why, but they just the three random stripes. And they even went out of their way and made that part of the design on these new gloves here.
Yeah, well, it has those. I mean, like... They have that kind of like work glove thing too, where it's got, like the pads of the knuckles and everything like that. Yeah, who knows? It's probably one of those weird things for like the Mickey Mouse and all that kind of stuff. That it had to be with like something so you can see his hands when you moved it around more, give it like dimension or something weird like that.
It was probably something like that. Yeah, more of a kind of a placeholder kind of. So yeah, they basically get into the big battle with the Shy Guys here. At some point, the Shy Guys get the upper hand, and at some point, there's actually... I'm not sure who this guy is. There's a guy in a green cloak who comes out, and he's got a staff, and he looks pretty badass, and he has claws. I'm trying to think if, like... It looks like his mask kind of has horns that come out. I'm trying to see if that could be any particular Mario villain that we don't know of. Like, would that be one of the wizards, or is that just maybe, like, Kamek, or is that just...
Well, he does have a staff, too.
He has a staff, and he has these horns that come up, so that look like they're part of the mask. And he looks like he has kind of like claws. So it's kind of hard to tell if he's meant to be anyone in particular. But either way, he looks pretty badass.
Yeah, exactly. And I could see it being something like that. Just giving it that once again that post-apocalyptic kind of look to it.
Mm-hmm. They could go out of their way, I guess, because there's certain characters that come in later, like, oh, that's supposed to be. Yeah, they would probably do that at this point in time. So I really hope they continue this book, because there are certain characters they bring in. I'm just curious to know. I'm assuming they're characters from the movie, from the games. But at the exact same time, though, I'm just kind of thinking at this time, part of it, you want to see the movie version of characters that didn't make it into the movie universe. But another part of you is kind of like, well, I'm kind of curious to know, like, I kind of get if they don't make it 100% accurate, because the movie wasn't 100% accurate. So I kind of get why they would still kind of present certain characters the way they do as it goes on.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the way I do it, too. And even I feel like it's almost like you should kind of view it like, almost like if it was a movie that came out in, like, 1995. Like, so you can't use anything pretty much Mario 64 and up. You know, she
Yeah.
can't even use anything Mario RPG enough by that standard. You know what I mean? Like, I think it'd be kind of interesting just to keep it like just sort of locked into like Mario 1, 2, 3 world, pretty much.
So from there, after this wizard guy comes in, he tries to like grab like Daisy by the neck, but then her meteorite basically zaps the guy into dust, and that's when the Mario Brothers and Toad get the upper hand. And I think they're on they're under this underground tunnel that's from like the shrine or whatever that's out in the desert, and then an explosion happens, sand pours in, and eventually our heroes get out of there after a few more like quick little action scenes.
Yeah, then they literally like slide on out and escape out of there. And then what part do we get to next? We get to we get this other cutaway where you kind of see this other scientist sort of going on in this laboratory, kind of putting together this experiment to like different dimensions and different worlds. And we don't really know exactly who it is yet, who's kind of talking in the background, but you can kind of guess if you want.
Well, we see two people here up front. We see a guy who looks like he has scales around his eyes, and his hair looks a little mangled, and he's in a coat. Then you get a chick who looks like she's kind of got a little bit of like a Joan Jett thing going on, and they both have kind of pointier ears. So, I mean, I think it's still safe to say they're probably. I'm gonna go on a limb here and assume that they're probably like other Koopa kids. I'm assuming maybe the chick in the black might be Cutie Pie. Or I think they changed her name a few times. Wasn't her name Madonna later on or something?
I think that might have been what it was like early on, because sometimes they did that thing in those like first Marios where they like really gave them all like kind of like rock star and music people names, and then I think probably was one of those ones like, okay, Madonna's like a little too like famous. We gotta fucking cut back on that and start calling her something else.
Yeah,
because I think Cutie Pie is like the name where they like kind of changed it back. Like probably would have said like Madonna or something, like maybe in Super Mario World or something goofy. I don't know.
Yeah. And then the other one, the guy with the scales on his eyes. I'm wondering if that's Larry, maybe it's Lemmy, or even Ludwig, possibly. And then there's a guy on top. I'm not sure if this is. I don't think it's meant to be him. There's a guy on a. There's a guy on a railing. I don't think that's Wart just yet. Maybe that is Wart.
I think that is supposed to be Wart, but it doesn't say it right yet. So you're kind of you're at the guessing stage of who that might be, but you see that he's opening up another portal to another dimension or world, I guess.
Yeah, actually, you're right. That is Wart, because I'm looking at the. He's a little bit more of a distance, and it looks like he's wearing more of kind of like an armor. But then from there on in, we only get close-ups of his face, basically, in this one back shot. And yeah, that's definitely Wart. So, and he's just basically this fat guy. He has warts on his face. You don't see his whole face. We see like the bottom of his mouth, and. I think I kind of figured when I heard that this comic was happening, I figured, all right, well, what would they do next? They probably would reach in and use other characters, and okay, Wart makes total sense for the second Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, exactly. And he's even got kind of like a frog-like kind of humanoid body look to him.
Yeah, and he's still wearing some kind of suit, because you could, even though this particular picture is not colored, you see his gloves look like it's some kind of suit, more detailed than what Koopa was wearing earlier.
I will say that it's odd how this book is colored, though. I mean, granted, I know it's just like kind of unfinished, like for certain sections, but it's weird how like you'll go and like, oh, okay, these first couple pages aren't colored. Because the first time I was reading it, I was like, oh, maybe it's black and white book, and it's just like, oh no, then there's color, and then it goes back to being like black and white. It's just kind of weird to like. I just think of like putting together a comic, and it's just like coloring, like not really in a straight row, just like coloring kind of almost like just certain scenes and so on, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And then we get to the reformed Koopa Castle, which has now been taken over by Daisy and her father. And they're waiting outside. The Mario Brothers are waiting outside this room. He says, like, they're probably going to make us fix all the shit we fucked up during that raid. Even though
that's why they fucking brought us back.
They're not going to pay us probably either. Probably, like, Mario, you're being a little bit of a grouch. Oh, fuck you, Luigi. I'm a realist.
You never had to go back and fix someone's pipes before, Luigi. You wouldn't understand. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just do it for the customer service aspect, but that customer's just a fucking shitty customer. You know what? They're never good customers that call you for a return.
And that's when they open the doors, and that's where it opens up like they have the basically the king. He looks different. His name's Resner.
Which is, I thought that was like I was trying to think of that one like Resner. I'm like, first I thought like That's the fucking like. It's a little like Triceratops that shoots fire at you in Mario World that are all like on like the spiral, like the halfway.
Is that what those are called?
Yeah, they're called Resners, and I was like, what? And then I literally had to look that up. I'm like, wait a second, is that fucking Triceratops related to Toadstool somehow? And then it's like I saw no mention of that ever. But that really threw me for a curve there.
That's probably, you know what, I could see, because technically, I mean, granted, he's a good guy, so I guess it might be a little bit more misplaced, but I could also see that being a producer thing, and that putting yourself in that mindset, like, oh, there's a thing called a Reznor. Yeah, we'll call this guy that. That looks like it could fit his name. And he's wearing green, he's wearing spikes, so it fits, you know. But at the same time, I'm thinking back on like the movie, because there was Iggy and Spike wasn't one of the Koopalings. Spike was just one of those random turtle ones that would just like spit out a ball and throw it down the hill.
Oh yeah. They probably just like, oh, the name works, so it's probably choices by that.
Yeah, so maybe it's in that same type of mindset. Basically, it sounds like he's chastising them for like, you guys are the ones that fucked up my castle. I'm just fucking with you. It's been a while since I got to just like bust someone's balls. Hey, welcome. These are the guys who saved your lives. Peep, everyone get around.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, go fix those fucking frozen pipes.
And I like how they just show Mario and Luigi in cold sweat. Like, Luigi's like, oh, fuck, I was right. Mario's already, like, drenched in sweat, like, a few words in. But then he comes in like, I'm just fucking with you. It's like, you're the guy trying to fuck my daughter, aren't you? It's all cool.
At least you're not the fucking fat bald one right there. Hey, who you calling fucking fat bald one here?
And that's where they bring in, like, oh, by the way, this is where, like, her name's not Paulina, but Danielle.
Yeah, Danielle. I like how this brings Danielle, like, why you bring Danielle? He's like, well, I don't know, maybe at some point I need something to fuck when I get bored. Just saying, Luigi.
Well, they surprised them. They just brought him in. She's like, yeah, we know where she's at. She wasn't too hard to kidnap. We kidnapped her pretty easy in the first one, so it was the same thing again.
Here you
just
go.
A bag over the head. Which I'm going to say, thinking back on that movie, like, you take your kid to go see a Mario movie, and then you have that really intense abduction scene where just like this lady going to her apartment, and then all of a sudden just a bag over her head, like, Mario! Oh, God!
Well, because really, it's like almost that kind of thing. It's like, you're watching like, a family-friendly movie, but like the same time, like, where is that fucking scene really sort of leading to? It's like fucking like a Death Wish beginning.
Like, you don't really know, like what was like Spike played by like Jeff Goldblum or something.
Just like, I hate rich cunts. Just like fucking Mario Death Wish.
You know what? I could see a Charles Bronson playing Mario.
I could too. Really, that would be the perfect. I know that's like so proto, but like 70s Mario.
I could definitely see. Shit, you could even do it then. I think he was still alive by this point. So
yeah,
didn't he die in like the late 90s?
I think so. So that almost by that standard, you literally could have had Charles Bronson come in if you had a second movie and play like Mario and Luigi's father. Be like, I got trapped in a fucking world. I don't know what he's talking like. This is like Charles Bronson.
He would be very calm but very stern, very threatening. Be like, I don't like the idea of this, guys. It's bad. Because I don't trust this fungus. Luigi, what are you doing? He'd just be like Luigi, like John Leguizamo, like, Mario, I don't know about this Daisy. And you have like Charles Bronson Mario being like, you better bring this Koopa clown in. I got some things to say to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like unfazed by nothing.
But Dad, what happened to you? You've been gone this whole time. Got trapped in another world. You know how it goes, son.
This desert was filled with life, but I did something about that.
Exactly.
I got bored. What can I say?
I need to survive myself, so I ate everything. Everything in sight.
You understand?
Just went on a murderous rampage.
Yeah,
I was in the desert. I was fucking bored. Don't you give me that fucking look.
That would have been the third Mario movie.
Exactly.
So that's where they're talking a little bit more, and that's where we realize that the Toad-like figure, who, if you know your Mario stuff, like, oh, that looks like Toad. And then he takes off the helmet and the mask, and it very much is Mojo Nixon Toad, who's basically got re-evolved back into his normal form. And apparently this suit helps him maintain his form from going back to Goomba Toad. And he says, I can be out of it just for a little while, so then he puts on a concert for everybody as they're partying.
Well, I even like too because there's even the part where Daisy's father's talking, and he even kind of like sort of those questions that people sort of had from the movie, being like, "Well, dude, how'd you come back to life?" He's like, there was electronic like malfunction. Shot across, turned on my program on the computer. You wouldn't fucking believe it, but it put me back together. And how about that? But at least it's kind of, it gives an answer. That's what I kind of like. It's just like, it's there. And for those people who can't just like think outside the box, there you go.
Yeah. They kind of Rogue One it, because there's always that question like, all right, so there's this hole that you throw anything down, it explodes. Well, in Rogue One, they explain it. So like, all right, cool. So they kind of do that with this too, which, Yeah, which I think they beat Rogue One to it technically, because I think this one came out by 2014, so yeah.
Yeah, because this book's actually, in a sense, like that's why I think that's like I don't know if they're continuing this exact variation or if they're going to start again, because I think it's like it seems like I don't know if the guys worked on it in quite some time.
Yeah, or maybe they've just been waiting to have like the majority of it done. They just do it. They release it in chunks. But anyway, so from here on in, Luigi and Daisy have some conversations like, "Oh, how have you been? What you been up to? This and that." And then that's where she explains the thing to regarding Toad, and that's when like a Yoshi, a slightly more grown up Yoshi, comes up to him. He's still a baby, but now he's starting to see he's starting to get his spikes.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, "You brought this Yoshi to this concert?"
Which I'm not sure I feel safe bringing this thing anywhere for just like a small passing thing that happens later. But then they're just kind of walking through Dino Hatton, and you see it like it's still Dino Hatton, but it looks a little less crime ridden now.
Yeah, it's not so bad. It looks like all like the jerk punk rocker guys finally got jobs down at the factory, so it keeps them a little bit more occupied.
Or food stands or whatever, yeah. And then like I kind of like the dialogue between Luigi. I think all the dialogue in this is pretty good. I think it does a good job of like picking up where the movie left off, having it be sincere about it without seeming like, oh, that seems like a 180 from what the movie was. But it's very much seems to be in the realm, but a logical progression,
Yeah, no. It kind of like catches you up, answers all like those kind of mysterious questions from the movie, and gets you set up for like this brand new one, like all really nice and like total flow. Like it's one of those comic books, you just go straight through it. You don't even really look at the pages. I always think of that kind of like when I'm reading a comic book. Like if you kind of get kind of a little bit bored is when you start looking at like pages. If you never look at the page numbers and all of a sudden you're like, oh, the comic book's over. I always feel like that's a good sign of like just like very progressive like storytelling.
Mm-hmm. There's even a part that where they're just sitting there like eating those little like, 'cause it's at one point they show them serving like lizards on sticks. It's like, I thought you were a vegetarian. Like, yeah, well, I kind of had to. I felt weird and out of place in my back on Earth. I feel the same way here. So I don't know. So they have this whole kind of like identity crisis part. It's like, but plus, what else can I really eat around here that's not meat? Everyone around here is a meat eater. What can I do?
I want to say this really quickly. You brought this up. Okay, in the movie, at the very beginning, when Spike and Iggy, they get hot dogs and they bring it in, and they toss the buns out like they don't know how to eat it. Like they're like, well, what's this bun thing? And they throw it out and just eat the hot dog part. But then you go later on to Dino Hatton, and they serve those little like,
on a hot dog bun, yeah.
On a hot dog bun. So it's like, obviously they know what a hot dog bun is. Like, it's one of those ones like, that I always thought was kind of weird. It's like, they throw that out, it's like, okay, I get it. They just thought like the hot dog bun was the wrapper. But then it's like, oh no, they have that there. I know that's like a little, that's like one of those like weird minor things, but it's just like, it's either there, maybe they're like, fuck carbs.
Yeah, maybe it's that. Or it's one of the, I could definitely see that being just two different, like, that was a scene in the script, and then there is like, the prop guy, like, all right, everybody, just act around. You serve lizard dogs or whatever the fuck you're doing, and not even thinking about it. And then by that point, like someone overlooked, like, fuck it, we already shot it. We're over budget. No one's gonna remember that.
We're over budget. We canceled that continuity guy. Yeah, I thought his fee was a little ridiculous too. He just has to stand there and fucking tell us if we're doing something right or wrong. I feel like I can fucking do that.
Then they they say it's dog, and they cut to the part where like lizards, like fuck, just sinks in his seat like opening night.
Exactly.
Everybody in the theater turns and looks at him.
I guess that fee wasn't such a bad thing there after all, huh? Yeah, I bet you wish you paid that now.
And then there's the part, the de-evolution chamber, when he slips in the slime, like someone's like, "Where's that shit come from?" Like, no, somebody got de-evolved. But why is it not in the movie? Continuity guy. Like, fuck.
I literally think he should have wrote that in there and just went with it. Just been like, oh yeah, just when Toad just gets up, he's just like, oh, just like he shits out.
Or they just like poorly ADR, like when they show the Mario brothers reacting, you just hear like, oh, he shit everywhere, and like just off screen.
Exactly, like just shit himself. Well, we can get one of those in here. It's fucking PG.
It's a kids movie. Kids laugh at that type of shit, literally.
Yeah. Kids love shit jokes.
So then, like, that's where they're talking. They're having.
So now, Luigi and Daisy have a nice moment.
Nice moment.
Nobody stands up and just shits all over the floor.
And they come to this botanical garden area where she's like, "I like to show you Dino Hatton's new park," and they just show. It's like, I'm trying to like bring vegetation back. I'm trying to bring life back. We have a greenhouse lab in here. Things are going pretty good. And actually, when our worlds merged for a second, it brought some Earth species over. And funny enough, the only one that survived was a daisy. But then there's that for some reason, once the worlds merged, it did something geologically, but brought back old prehistoric plants.
Yeah, like here's this piranha plant.
Yeah, which I'm like, okay, we're going into a place with a bunch of plants. There's got to be a piranha plant. Oh, there's a piranha plant. Awesome. I want to say this, though. I feel bad because this is a very small moment. I was like, no one's going to react to that? Oh, I guess it's this world they live in. When they're walking through the park, there's a guy walking his little turtle. And I know maybe this is their idea of a Koopa Troopa, but it's this like little turtle on its hind legs walking around, and Yoshi's looking at it like, "Oh, friend!" And then as Daisy and Luigi are walking away, you see it has like Yoshi has like the end of its leash in his mouth, and just walks away, no problem.
Nobody even fucking not like, "Hey, sir, your dog gonna fucking you gonna pay for what your dog just fucking did to my dog?"
Or maybe he ate the guy. Maybe that we don't even see what happened there.
Yeah, just been like, oh, Yoshi, you gotta eat the fucking... If you're gonna eat the dog, you gotta eat the man, too. You can't let the man and the dog be separated. Because then a lawsuit happens.
Like old Charles Bronson dad always said, no witnesses.
No, you can't have any witnesses. Go, take them out.
No witnesses, Mario. Never no witnesses.
Yeah, but what about Jeff Goldblum? You never seem to get... Fucking dare bring up Jeff Goldblum. Been searching my whole fucking career for Jeff Goldblum.
How many like Jeff Goldblum? I'll say this. We'll stop getting off track in a second. But Jeff Goldblum was big by the time the last Death Wish movie came out. They should have brought him back. Like, we found the one punk, the one scumfuck guy who actually killed your wife.
Yeah.
Oh fuck. Yeah.
Death Wish 5.
Exactly.
Just Jeff Goldblum versus Charles Bronson.
Make it look like the Batman v Superman poster.
Yeah, exactly. Face to face. But yeah, I just love how Yoshi just fucking eats this guy's fucking turtle pet, Koopa Troopa, going down the street. Nobody seems to fucking care.
And if it's by standards of this world, I don't know the standards they're setting up right here, but if this is like going to grow up to be the size of Yoshi, then he just devoured a baby. So, you know, not trying to make it more sad than it already is, but yeah.
I know. And like that guy is already giving such a fucking dirty look to Daisy and Luigi. Like, look at him. He's just like, look at that fucking plumber in his suit. It's fucking 8 o'clock at night. What is he doing out here? Like, what? Can't change his dirty clothes?
Maybe Yoshi, like, kind of sensed that. Says, you know what? Fuck you and your turtle.
Yeah. And then it just shits a fucking egg out right there.
Maybe we don't see that off screen, yeah. So that's when they go inside this green room. And that's when, like, we even see, like, what looks like fire flowers back there. Like, they're flowers that they're like bright red and look like they have steam coming off them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And then you see the piranha plant, which lunges at Luigi for a quick second, which this is probably, I imagine this is just a scene kind of teeing up. Like, eventually, you're going to see a lot of these things, or, like, a big one of these things.
It'd be like, Daisy always told me I gotta protect them, but now I gotta kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Mario, give me the fire. We're gonna burn this motherfucker down. Luigi, I've always wanted to hear you say that.
You are my brother after all. And there's this really good illustration of like dedicated to Bob Hoskins between those right here, which I like to give acknowledgement to.
Oh yeah. Real neat like scene right there.
And then from there on in, as the Piranha Plant starts to get a little wild, which you think they'd keep that one in a cage, just not on a pot on the corner of the table. But, this they mentioned earlier on the world is a bit more aggressive and dangerous than our world, so maybe that side of the brain, like, hey, just stay away from the fucking plant. Your dinosaur ate my turtle! Well, it's this... You shouldn't let him get so fucking close. Fuck you.
What do you think about it? It's like they kind of had like a fascist ruler for like the last 20 years, so people are probably a little bit more used to being like, you take care of your fucking self.
Yeah.
They don't have that world where it's like, it's okay, Billy, we'll put up rubber mats around everything so you'll all be safe and you'll never have to experience pain or problems.
Mm-hmm. So then, coming in here, we have this, as Luigi falls down, this Asian dude in a lab coat runs in with these kind of pink John Lennon glasses, and he shoots this, like, hypno, like, gaze thing from the glasses at the Piranha Plant, and it stops. And his name is Mauser. So it's like, oh shit, that's Mauser? All right, yeah. I'm assuming at some point this guy's going to screw him over.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking the whole time, too. I'm like, well, plus, he's a scientist, and if we know anything from stories...
They're weak.
And they always are after something. More power, that is. More science, that is.
I can definitely... And they have this nice little moment where he's like, hey, I've been working with Daisy, helping her, like, build up this... try and bring life back to the planet, try and expand more than the desert. And you find out the reason they're out in that little area in the desert is there's a ravine out there that kind of leads back to the Dino Hattons. So that's why they're checking out in the first place. But yeah, Mauser here, it's not what you'd immediately expect him to be, but at the same time, the way the movies did it in the previous one, I could totally see them portraying him this way. Who knows if he's even really a bad guy if we're going by movie rules, but I can totally see him screwing them over down the line.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to come back around at some point. See, they're surprised that Luigi's just not, like, fucking jumping on top of the fucking Piranha Plant, smashing down, like, dude, what are you doing? That's the only one we have! Like, he was trying to fucking bite me.
And this is, Daisy and Luigi talk a little more, and we realize, like, okay, well, they're probably still trying to figure out what their future is, but it's looking like it's still all a possibility. Then Mario...
He's like, oh, fish fucking tacos, all right.
He says, I'll eat whatever the fuck you throw in front of me.
Us Mario brothers ain't fucking picky.
I'm like that Kirby thing from that fucking Japanese video game company. When he was white, not when he was pink.
Just saying, when he was pink, he seemed fucking weak. When he was white, he seemed empowered. It's not having to do with the white thing. I know I feel like I'm backpedaling now. It's just, I don't know, he just looked more manly there.
Oh, fuck, fish tacos.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll just stop that thing here. Hold on a second. Watch this parlor trick. Oh, shit, I've turned into a fucking fish taco. Oh, god damn it.
I'm just waiting for like other versions to see how they come up with like, all right, here, we got this other outfit we got this thing that's gonna help you get up there. Like, oh, what is it? Like, it's a bee suit. Ah, fuck you.
All I picture though is just like you get fucking old Bob Hoskins be like, oh, okay, Bob, we're doing Mario Brothers 4 the movie. Like, let's just say these movies kept going on and they're just super fucking popular. Okay, well, what's Mario's new suit in this one? He got put a fucking bee suit on. Yeah, put the bee suit on, Bob.
He's still in character. He lost his British accent. That's how angry he is right now.
Yeah, well, he's been doing a lot of these movies, It
just eventually stuck. But anyway, Mario and there's some pretty good dialogue here, and there's a lot of thought that goes into it, like pushing it forward, but still keeping it true to what the last movie was. And Mario has an interesting conversation with Reznor, and basically saying like, hey, we're trying to do things better, and who knows what the world's going to be when this is all done, but Daisy's already trying to already push things forward, and that's when he falls over of like what seems like a heart attack or something, and Luigi's like, oh shit, or Mario's like, oh shit, which is like, okay, there's your one shit.
Oh, he does say that too. I kind of, that's like those ones like you sort of like bypass, but you're like, oh, wait a second, when you kind of picture it based on like fucking Mario Bros, like, oh, he says that right there. He's like, shit.
And then from there, that's where we got back to the greenhouse. Luigi and Daisy kiss, thinking, like I think Daisy was warming up, saying, "Hey, would you want to stay here? Would you want to live here for a little while? Because what else is waiting for you in Brooklyn? You don't have to be a plumber if you don't want to." I want to say it was something to that alliance, because that's where he was talking about, like, I always felt like I was only a plumber because my brother had to be, but then again, he was Mario, he's my brother, so I feel like it was worth it. And then Daisy said something similar, and then to her lines, then they kiss, and that's when a bunch of explosions start happening all over the city, basically at fight clubs for a second. Like all these skyscrapers go down for a minute, and that's when Wart pops up on the screen looking like Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm fucking Wart, and I'm here to take on over, and I've come from another fucking world.
Well, then they say that he helped with. He didn't come from another world. He was actually helping. He worked with Koopa. He helped kind of bring the worlds together with Koopa.
I thought he said that, but I thought he also said he came from another world, like that was like almost like a third section. But maybe I missed that part.
Maybe
I'm adding that in. But yeah, I know he definitely said something that he did sort of work with Koopa. So he's almost like Boss Norg or whatever in like fucking Final Fantasy VIII, where like all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, by the way, we had this shady deal a long time ago, and yeah, it's not us humans running this garden. Just had to let you know. Squall, could you go down there and fucking take care of this? You know, just talk it out or something like that. Squall comes back and just be like, you fucking murdered him? Be like, yeah, he was fucking being a problem. Like, what, you sent a 17-year-old guy down there with a fucking gun on his sword. What do you think was gonna happen?
Not much of a diplomat, that Squall.
I don't have fucking personality skills like that. I kill things. That's what you raised me, Sid. I was a fucking orphan. You picked me up off a grid. He's like, yeah, shit.
Why do you think it was a good idea to give an orphan a gun sword? Just saying.
Yeah, give 2 fucking orphans a gun sword and then have them fucking fight each other for training.
So from there, that's where like this, these explosions, that's where they become more portals and more Shy Guys on demented looking Yoshis come running through. Exactly. And that they run back to the castle. Like, all right, it looks like they're trying to take back the castle. And from here, they're talking about what their next course of action is going to be. And Mojo, Nixon, Toad's like, all right, we'll fucking be ready for him.
So funny when you hear that name Mojo Nixon. I don't know what it is. That sounds like it's an X-Men character, like a Mojo World or something. Like who's Mojo Nixon? Well, that's Mojo's like bastard son or something like that.
And from here, that's where we have Mauser kind of giving more exposition about how they're gonna go about this, and I think what they're planning to do exactly.
They gotta go to the underground world.
Underground, yeah, which is we didn't get to see a whole lot of the underground world in the first Mario movie, so get more of it in this one, hopefully.
I will say though, I think that like there's a new artist that appears like all of a sudden right about this point towards the very end.
Because the art's a little different.
Yeah, like completely. I mean, it doesn't like change so radically that you're like, oh, what the? But you could tell it's like, oh, whoa, it's all of a sudden
it just be the coloring too.
I guess that could, because it did say there was a different colorist. But I just feel like the colorist would have to come and be one of those colorists that comes in and starts drawing his own shit on top of stuff. If that's the case.
Essentially, Mario has this moment where he's just like, why the fuck do we got to keep on helping these lizards out? And that's where, everyone in the room guilt trips Mario into saying like, hey, you helped us out the first time. Why aren't you helping out now? And how, by the way, how is our world so much different than yours? And our worlds are more linked than you think, this and that. And that's where they get in front of a camera like, oh, don't worry. We're still, because they have this. They kind of acknowledge they started this new world, this new government, and not everyone's on board immediately. Even though the king's back in power and Daisy's there, people still don't trust him because they still got people loyal to Koopa. So this book actually acknowledges that.
It's been like 25 fucking years. Like, literally, that's like, just imagine just any fucking president of a country coming back like 25 years later, be like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm in charge again. Fuck you. No new election. Yeah, I know I haven't seen. I'm in the fungus. I've been watching. You know what I mean? Pay attention. Yeah.
I actually give you a voting booth this time. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you can vote for me or me, but you don't get any other fucking choice. What you think you fucking choices?
Oh, actually, I noticed a funny little thing that when they're doing this whole talk show thing, stop and saying, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're actually gonna take an action against this Wart guy, and here are the Mario Brothers. They're gonna help us out. I noticed the guy holding the camera has a cloud on the camera, so a little like Mario 64 nod, kinda.
Oh yeah, that is true. I didn't even think about that till you mentioned that. It's going too far ahead, man. It's Mario 64 too far, man. Too far. You gotta stay back.
You know, I was really loving this book, and this book was really good until I saw this last page. It suddenly just entirely ruined for me because they lost their continuity. They jumped a year ahead of when this would have come out. Never mind, I do not recommend this book. Fuck it.
See, that's the thing, though. You gotta pay that continuity guy. Don't think you can fucking cheapen out and just get rid of them. They're important.
No, so that right there is where Luigi takes the mic, says, yeah, we're coming for war, and we're going to knock these motherfuckers out, essentially. And then Mario's like, all right, good talk, let's get going. Then this guy turns back to the camera like, all right, that was the Mario Brothers. Now, do you think the king can get the job done? Stay tuned, we'll talk. So it's like, oh, shit, we still have to deal with, like, all this condescension and people unsure of what we're capable of and what the king's capable of, and that's where it leaves off, which is, you know, I really hope they pick this thing back up, because this is a really good, not just good for a comic book fan, not just good for like a fan of the movie, but just a good comic in general.
Exactly. And also, I have to say, at the very end, it also mentions that police chief now is Big Bertha.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. They do mention that.
But yeah, I know this is right. Pretty much this is the thing, is it sort of leaves off like right when your story pretty much is beginning. You know what I mean? It's sort of like the first, like, you know, 60 pages or whatever were pretty much about like, hey, let's get this going. We'll fill you in with all the extra information you need. We'll get you back grooving and so on. And then it's almost like, it's like if you're watching a fucking DVD and then like right when they're like, okay, we're going up like on the fucking adventure. You're watching Lord of the Rings or something like that. Be like, okay, we got this fucking group together. We're going to go on a quest. And then like the fucking DVD scratches and it's all like, oh shit, it's not going to play any farther past this point. Well, you can think what happens next, I guess. Use your mind.
Yeah, we're just got done with the first act. So, and I'm not going to be like one of those guys like, where's the book? Just make the fucking book. What's the fucking deal? I mean, I'm not going to be one of those people because I get it. You and I both make comics. We know how long it could take, especially when it's fully colored. And you're also probably not making any money off this thing. So I get it totally why it's taken so long. I just think even if it stopped here, I don't want it to stop here. I want it to keep on going on. But even if it stopped here, I get it. And at least we got this first great act. And who knows where it can go from here, you know?
Yeah, because it's completely solid right here. And I know what they were shooting for was about, give or take, I think like 120 pages. So we're about almost halfway, I guess you would say, by that standard into it. I just hope that they kind of keep going. And I know sometimes it's like that thing that, you know, every once in a while, you know, you'll kind of be going, then you'll kind of get an idea in your head of like how you're going to do something different. And sometimes it makes you stop sort of doing a project. Because as I said, like, it seemed like this book was kind of like a couple of, you know, maybe around 2013, 14 started. And then, you know, I don't know, I'm guessing maybe it stopped about 2016. This is all kind of guessing. But, yeah, I hope it does get kind of picked up.
Chapter 4, page 8 was on April 9th, 2015.
Oh, so even farther. So the scary thing is when something's like 5 years and you haven't touched it, it's almost kind of like, that makes you kind of wonder, like, you know, I mean, like, I get it. What they probably were doing, they're like, they got to the point where, like, okay, we want to kind of get some, you know, in a sense, money and recognition for doing this. Because, you know, nothing's worse than kind of making something and then having to be like, well, we could just kind of put it on our page and, you know, sadly, we can't have it just, like, be spread about as much as possible and can't have it, you know, sold and make a little bit of profit and so on. That's always kind of the downfall to sort of, like, when you're doing these kind of, like,
passion projects.
Yeah, exactly. So there is, you know, it's almost like what always kind of scares me, like, after a while, it's just, like, when you start doing things that are kind of based off other things, even if they're kind of, in a sense, original / like, they're filling a void that's not going to be happening anyways, or you're even doing something that's a parody or something that shouldn't have any problem whatsoever, but then there always is that problem too. I don't know, it's that sad part, but I would love to see this kind of carry on.
No, I definitely want to. I mean, if it did stop here, I get it, but at the same time, I would like to see it continue on because it's starting off real strong. The artwork's fantastic, the writing's good, and like I said, it feels very true to the original, yet answering those questions and those continuity errors. Some people were scratched. I just took it as, it's a movie, it's magic, whatever, you know? Like, I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into, like, okay, the king comes back from the fungus. I didn't put a whole lot of thought into that, but their explanation makes, you know, fits for this world. And, you know, even bringing the idea of, like, that we still, even though we took down Koopa, we still got to earn the trust of everyone in the city.
Yeah, exactly, and just kind of adding those extra elements, and that's how I always feel too. It's like when it comes to movies, like, and there's those parts that, like, people always call them, like, you know, plot holes or something like that. I'm like, I always kind of go like, that's where you're supposed to use your brain and kind of piece things together. You know what I mean? Like, don't expect everybody to like handhold you through like it's a fucking tutorial in like a video game. But
there's some plot holes where I get where it's just like, no, that should have been explained better, that should have been presented more. But then there's I don't want to beat a completely dead horse here, but there's the whole like, Dark Knight Rises. How'd Batman get back to Gotham? It's like, he's fucking Batman. Well, they should have shown or said something. Like, they showed in the first movie when he hopped aboard a fucking boat and didn't have any training previously. And then he went around, did how many years as Batman? Did how many years of training? And now you're questioning how the fuck did he get back?
Yeah, like that's the perfect example. It's like, God, use your fucking brain. Like, seriously, like.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
yeah, anyway, but that's an example of like, okay, that's a plot hole where it's like, that's a dumb fucking excuse. I don't care who you are. I think it's a dumb fucking complaint about that movie. But I think that there are other ones that are, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there definitely are those like, oh, that could have been a little bit more clear.
Exactly. But yeah, check out Super Mario Brothers, the comic. It's just glorious and awesome, and hopefully, however possible it is to get this finished, whether it takes even another, you never know how some artists can be kind of like ones like you get busy or something like that. Maybe that kind of stalled the project or so on. But even if it had to switch artists, even if it had to kind of do something a little bit different, kind of go ahead, it would be neat to see the second half of this book finished. That would be pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I would even pay money for it. So,
yeah.
Let's give
I know
credit.
We're not supposed to say we're paying money for things like this, but if we should have like some secret black market fund for it.
Just saying, yeah. And just to give credit where credit's due again, Stephen Applebaum and Ryan Haas, the curators, the Super Mario Brothers movie archive, they did the story for this. Eric Donovan, Eric spelled with a Y, art and colors. Brett Michael Cook, he also did colors, and then James Reed, James spelled with a Y, did letters. So, yeah, just want to give credit where credit's due, and great job on this, folks.
Yeah, and if you like Super Mario Brothers the movie as much as we do and so on, you can always go to their website, too, because they got the Super Mario Brothers archive, movie archive, and, they got deleted scenes on there. They got, like, pictures of all the toys and action figures. Scripts and behind the scenes extra stuff and so on, all those things that are missing from having a glorious special edition DVD. Well, guess what? They got it all right there, but beyond that good fun stuff, you can go to our website, oldmanorange.com, for more podcasts, comics like Pizza Boys, animations, and all our old videos and so on. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes,
and I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange Podcast. Sure, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, animation, and a whole lot more. We also have the Old Man Orange blog going with all kinds of fun stuff. If you easily want to support the show, use one of our Amazon links either on the website or in the description of the podcast below. Rate, review, and subscribe to the show either on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Newgrounds, or anywhere else that you seem to get this podcast from. Grab the sitcom-styled comic book Pizza Boys on either Comic Central, Comixology, or Amazon. Want more podcasts? Check out the Indie Comics Club over at Comic Central. I also got a workout website called Thor's Hidden Gym, filled with fitness tips and tricks, videos, and a whole lot more fun stuff in the calisthenics world. Talk to us on Twitter, at Spencer S. Holmes and Dunigan Ryan. Like our Facebook pages of Old Man Orange Productions and Pizza Boys Comic. Thanks again, we're out of here.